For being a dry desert state, Utah has a surprising amount of small creeks, streams, and rivers. I'm not going to name any of the specific waters I'm fishing in this video in order to prevent overcrowding and because there are hundreds of similar small creeks and streams throughout Utah. Odds are pretty good if a stream or a creek has a year-round flow and an average depth of at least a foot, it holds some fish. Many of these streams flow from the national forests within the state. The Sawtooth National Forest in the northwest corner, Uinta-Wasatch Cache in the north and central areas, Ashley National Forest out to the northeast, Manti-La Salle National Forest in the central and southeast, the Fish Lake National Forest in the south central, and Dixie National Forest in the southwest corner of the state. There are also many small tailwater fisheries flowing from our reservoirs. For my purposes here, I consider a small stream or creek one that is relatively shallow, averaging less than 3 feet deep, and narrow enough that I can easily cast across it in most places, and many are small enough to jump across. By that definition, that pretty well includes every moving water in Utah, except the Green River and the Colorado River. The Provo River below Deer Creek Reservoir might be the only other possible exception. I'm like many anglers and I love catching big fish, but sometimes I just have to get out and go after some of those pretty little trout available in small, pristine, and often unpressured streams and creeks. One of the things I really enjoy about fishing these places is how tough it can be just getting to the water. Often the willows, brush, and steep shorelines make accessing the water a fun challenge. Another great thing is you never know what you might find along the way. Fish in these small waters are often uneducated and aggressive. I suggest being conservation-minded when harvesting fish, since these little waters usually don't support many fish per mile and can easily be over-harvested. However, there are exceptions and populations tend to go up as the size of the stream increases or if the stream is connected to a lake or reservoir with larger fish. When exploring Utah streams, you're likely to catch Utah's only native trout, the cutthroat. They inhabit streams from 5,000 to 12,000 feet in elevation. If you're targeting brook trout or grayling, look for them from 7,500 to 12,000 feet. Rainbow trout and brown trout are commonly found from 4,000 to 8,000 feet. Mountain whitefish are also a fun sport fish found in the 4,500 to 6,500 foot elevations. Finding and catching fish in small streams isn't usually very difficult. Just remember, everything is relative. A trophy fish may only be 13 inches long, and a deep hole might only be 18 inches deep. You're always fairly close to the fish and they can be very spooky, so moving slowly, stepping softly, casting softly, and wearing subdued natural colors will increase your odds of success. Stream flows can change quickly, going from low water to flood stage in only a few minutes. This can be caused by heavy rains, melting snow on a warm early spring day, or a dam release. You have to be adaptable to changing conditions. In low, clear water, I look for fish in and alongside good current areas, and in the deepest water available like current seams and undercut banks. As the water rises and often loses clarity, I move shallower into slower water areas like eddies, deep slow holes, and current breaks like points, brush, and boulders. The equipment I use includes spinning and fly fishing gear. I prefer 4.5 to 6 foot ultralight to light action spinning rods on teeny creeks due to the heavy brush. I might use 7 to 8 foot ultralight rods if I'm using bait. Here I'm using a 5.5 foot light action rod with a fast taper. I use a small reel designed for 4 to 6 pound test line, and I typically use 4 to 6 pound monofilament or fluorocarbon. Some enjoy the challenge of fly fishing these brushy waters, but they're more skilled than I am at keeping flies in the water rather than in the trees. On bigger streams where I might encounter larger fish, I upgrade to 6 to 6.5 foot spinning rods with medium light to medium action and fast taper. I use a reel designed for 6 to 10 pound line. Depending on the size of the fish available, I go with 6 or 8 pound mono or fluorocarbon. For fly fishing, you could use 3 to 5 weight rods from 7 to 8 feet long. Use a 7.5 to 9 foot leader in 3x to 6x depending on your choice of fly. Flies should be something that imitates midges, mayflies, caddisflies, crane flies, bloodworms, or maybe a terrestrial insect like a grasshopper, cicada, beetle, or ant, or perhaps a small bait fish such as muddlers or chubs. Back to spinning gear. I prefer throwing small spinners in sizes from 0 to as big as number 2. I also like using small minnow baits such as these Rapala X-Wraps or Yo-Zuri Pins Minnows. At times I might use worms, real grasshoppers, or salmon eggs, but only if I plan on keeping fish for dinner since they swallow the natural baits quickly. When using lures, I like to use a small snap or a snap swivel so that I can change lure colors or lure types quickly. Fish in these small environments like natural colors like silvers, golds, greens, browns, whites, or blacks, etc. When I approach a stream with bait or flies, I usually travel upstream or against the current and cast upstream because I want the bait or fly to drift naturally with the current. When I use spinners or minnow type lures, I typically travel downstream, making short, precise casts across or quartering downstream and retrieving against the current. This way, I can manipulate the lure into and around currents and holding structures, and work the lure in similar fashion like real bait fish moving through the currents. Fish often hold extremely tight to cover, but they will often chase a surprising distance to catch prey because food may be scarce, competition may be high, or they're just plain uneducated and don't know any better. I always try casting and retrieving different ways until the fish tell me what they want for the moment. On teeny creeks, I move quickly, since most holding areas only support 2 or 3 fish, and when one is caught, it usually spooks the others. On larger streams, you may be able to catch several fish from each hole before moving on. Most trout in small streams average 6 to 14 inches, but every now and then you'll find a gem that produces some real hogs over 20 inches long. To produce these big fish, the water must be connected to lakes or reservoirs with big fish, or have excellent feed, many deep, brushy, hidey holes and undercut banks, and have low harvest rates. When you find one of these special places, treat it well, so it will continue to produce for many years to come. These big fish are normally well educated and take patience and a skilled presentation, but the rewards are well worth it. Catching a nice brown like this is always fun no matter where you find them, but it's even better when you don't have to fight a crowd while fighting your fish. Finding and fishing these little streams and creeks is so much fun, and they're everywhere, flowing through 12,000-foot alpine meadows, alongside major highways, flowing from small lakes and reservoirs, and even running through major metropolitan areas. When you find one that's loaded with fish, it's almost guaranteed to bring out the kid that's deep inside each of us. Get out there and enjoy it.